even better. In particular because it will give you some opportunities to know how to get involved, and nobody can see that. Okay, that is not.
If you just exit, it's easier to read, and you can just scroll.
Yeah. Okay. So welcome, everybody in this room, at least from the instructor side and organizational side, I know has been anticipating this week for quite some time. We're super excited to have you guys here. Adam will talk to you a lot about sort of what sets this program apart from some of the other offerings around. I know some of you in particular have been to like 3 different data science schools this summer. But this is a little bit different, and you guys are about to spend a fair amount of the next couple of years with one another, so I hope that this will turn into a really productive community for you guys. Just to introduce myself, I'm Lucianne Walkowicz. I have had various roles with LSST over the years, basically starting when I was a graduate student and then on until now. So I was once upon a time the co-chair of the Transients and Variable Star Science Collaboration. If that sounds like gobbledygook, you will know what it means in roughly the next couple of hours. I now coordinate all of the science collaborations. I serve on the Science Advisory Committee, and I am the director of this school, which I'm very excited about because, you know, over the years, we've had lots of conversations about what kinds of skills that graduate students might want or need to have in order to really get started with LSST. And for those of us who have worked on the project, especially for a long time, LSST sounds far away if you haven't been thinking about it that long, but it sounds like it's literally around the corner to me, like it might as well be next year. So we're hoping that this will be useful for you, not only in the future, but that the skills that you learn here are things that you can take immediately home, use in your theses, tell your fellow students about. Some of you will probably end up educating your advisors about this. Advisors sometimes learn, well, in a proper advisory relationship, advisors learn a lot from your students, so you'll be in that position. And I hope that this school will end up being really empowering for you and those you get to interact with. I just wanted to quickly go over our code of conduct at the very beginning. I know all of you have read it because you signed a document that says that you did. But I just want to refresh you on some of the principles that we use in the school, some of our goals, specifically in a sort of practical sense will be covered by Adam in a little bit. But we have sort of these shared values and shared what you could call principles or rules of engagement. So one of these is shared responsibilities. I mentioned earlier that you guys are a community. You are going to spend a fair amount of time over the next couple of years together. And therefore, the health of your community, both scientifically and culturally and interpersonally, is everybody's responsibility. We're not your bosses. You're all adults, and so the health of the community is really up to you. And that's really true of scientists everywhere. And this is, as you probably saw in the Code of Conduct, there's links to the American Physical Society and American Astronomical Society's codes of conduct and their various principles. But those are a good read as well in your copious free time that I'm sure you'll have as you take this on in addition to grad school. We also go by honesty, so that should sort of go without saying, but being a good scientist also means being an ethical scientist. It means giving credit where credit is due, and glorying in the sharing of ideas as opposed to being in your own little world, because as we move forward and this becomes an increasingly a scientific culture that is increasingly characterized by large-scale collaborations, honesty is extremely important. Respect, and we'll go into this as far as the principles of engagement. This is a very diverse group of people. You guys come from everybody from entering graduate students to people who are kind of at the culmination of their graduate careers to people that have just written their theses plans and everything. Some of you have had more exposure to the classwork that you would encounter in, or you either have or will encounter as part of your graduate programs. which means that you all start at different places. Some of you are more experienced with coding than others. Some of you have had the opportunity to apply some of the principles that you'll learn here to your research already, and some of you, it will be totally new. That's why respect in general, obviously it's like important for being a human in the world, but it's particularly important here because we all bring different viewpoints to what we're doing. People who have, not yet had formal astronomy classes perhaps also bring a fresh viewpoint that those of you who are like in your 5th year might have lost sight of. So I encourage you to value each other's viewpoints and mentor each other both from the bottom up and the top down and everything in between. Questions so far on any of this? Should seem fairly self-explanatory, right? So the principles of engagement that we use here, they're generally things that I think that probably all of us use in our day-to-day life. Everybody here seems like a contributing member of society. So I trust that you'll use that in your interpersonal interactions, but there are a couple of things that occasionally come up that are characterized in science culture in particular that occasionally work against our ability to collaborate. And so the first of these, we call it here raise all voices. That just basically means that you want to, and particularly in this school where you'll be doing a lot of group work, you want to make sure that everybody is having a chance to contribute. Sometimes we don't realize that we're drowning other people out. Sometimes you're just excited about talking about your idea. But you want to make sure that everybody in the group has had a chance to speak, and some people are quieter than others. So if you haven't heard from somebody in a little while that you're working from, it's okay to turn around and invite their opinion, because some people prefer that. I find, because astronomers love acronyms, a good one for this is the acronym WAIT, which stands for Why Am I Talking? If you're not sure, just take a moment and consider why you're talking. Some of us sometimes get in the habit of talking just because we think our idea is super awesome. That might be true, but also somebody else's idea might be super awesome too. So just wait a minute, you'll get a chance. There's a lot of time. No feigning surprise. So this might sound like kind of a funny one, but basically, this isn't to imply that you would naturally feign surprise, like you treat somebody like they're an idiot by intention. But occasionally, even statements like saying "Oh my God, I can't believe you haven't learned that yet," can be very discouraging for people who are perhaps just starting out. Maybe they haven't had their galactic dynamics course yet. So instead of doing that, be like, "Oh, you haven't had this course yet. Let me help you out." Just don't try not to do things that might discourage your fellow classmates from feeling like they have a contribution to make. So that also means no well actuallys, which is a phrase that a lot of us have heard. Once upon a time, a fellow astronomer pointed out to me, so she is now astronomy faculty at the University of Michigan. Her husband is a doctor, and when they were first dating, he really liked injecting incorrect information into their conversations because he had pointed out to her once that it is considered rude in normal people culture to bluntly correct someone. It is not usually considered rude to bluntly correct somebody in science because a lot of times we think that we're helping each other out. But well, actually, it's this. Have a conversation with people if you have something to share. Don't be in the habit of correcting them. Or eventually you might date somebody who will try to troll you on your dates. The last one, but definitely not the least important, is no isms. So this again should go without saying, but racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, totally not okay in this space. Astronomy is a increasingly diverse, not diverse enough yet, but increasingly diverse field. You guys look like a lot of the future of astronomy, and that means that we don't want to discourage our colleagues from participating fully. And that means not activating the sub-process where they have to think about whether they're going to call you out on something that you just said that was offensive to them. Now, if this does happen, don't panic. Please don't get defensive. Feel free to bring it up with the person if you feel comfortable. If they've said something that makes you uncomfortable, But if you don't, you can talk to me or to Adam or to one of the instructors if that's easier for you, and we will talk it out and it will be okay. A lot of times things like this come from cultural differences between us, and it may not be intentional, but the important thing there is the impact, and we want to create a productive environment. So you guys can reread this if you've forgotten, but without further ado, I'd like to quickly bring up our instructors to just say a little bit of introduction, your names, what you do in the program, what you're here to teach, and anything else that you want to share about yourself.
Hey, so I met many of you last night. I'll meet all of you certainly by the end of today. My name is Adam. I was just hired on as a postdoc at Northwestern and Adler. I am the Director of Program Development and Communications for the Data Science Fellowship Program. If that sounds fancy, it's because Lucianne and I made it up in 5 seconds. But in short, along with Lucianne, I'm going to be sort of the two main people that you'll be interacting with. Some of these instructors you'll probably see again, but we'll also have new instructors at future weeks, as I'll go over a little bit later during my talk in just a couple hours.
I'm Jake Vanderplas. I'm a data scientist at University of Washington. So my background is astronomy, but currently I have no astronomy in my job description, which is an interesting place to be. But I spend a lot of time on open source software and contributing to packages like scikit-learn and AstroPy and SciPy and Matplotlib and things like this. And I'm excited to be here to talk about software engineering, and then also tomorrow to talk a little bit about Bayesian statistics, which is my real love when it comes to science.
That looks evil when you do it.
Hi, I'm Chris Lintott. I'm an astronomer at the University of Oxford. My science is galaxy formation, but I do that by engaging in citizen science. So I run projects called the Zooniverse and Galaxy Zoo. People are nodding, so that's good. And I spend a lot of my time thinking about how to make millions of people get involved with LSST data. At the school, I'm going to be helping run the hack session. We're calling it a hack day, even though it's a short day.
Yeah, half day.
So it's not an Earth day, it's a different day. And Lucianne and I will be running the public engagement and how to talk to normal people sessions on Friday.
Also useful for talking to other scientists.
Yes, that's true. Yes, it's disguised professional development.
Yes.
Learning how to do public engagement.
Okay, so I am Maria Süveges. I am both astrophysicist and statistician, but so right now I am rather a statistician than astronomer because that's where I did my PhD. Then now I'm working on Gaia data. Gaia is up in the sky, and the Lagrange point too, and transmitting data. So we are very excited to do this work. I was participating in the CU7 variability processing unit, and so I am invited to do the statistical introduction and the Times US course experience. And I'm very happy to.
Hi. I'm Robert Luckton. I'm an astronomer by training. I work on image processing and astronomy mostly. I did a lot of work on the SDSS. My current job on LSST is, I used to have a different title. Pipeline scientist. I'm the pipeline scientist for LSST, which means I get to go around and pontificate and say, I don't like that way of doing it. I had this clever idea. Then other people have to actually make it work. So that's great. I'm really excited about the prospect for these schools. They grew out of some, maybe you'll say this, that we've been involved in, including one I did with Maria, with Gaia. There was a weak lensing school. Europe ran. We're trying to steal good ideas from Europe, just as the UK leaves the EU. We won't discuss that at this meeting. So.
Okay, so we have a bit of time right now where what we're going to do is some speed research meeting. So you guys will have, did we decide on 1 minute or 2 minutes, Adam? Adam.
Sorry.
Did we decide on 1 minute or 2 minutes for?
I think if it's, oh no, okay, let's do pairs.
Okay.
1 minute
Okay.
each person.
All right.
I think that works.
Great.
Yeah.
So 2 minutes, 2 people.
Yes.
You
But
each
1
talk
minute
for
each.
half. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. In the spirit of this school, I wrote a code to do this. I told some of you last night. I also told some of you that I tried to impress some 6th graders with this. It didn't go great. So we have a student group generator into which all of you are loaded. Let's go through here. All of you now live in here, so we're going to do pairs. And basically, oops, shoot. See, it's actually impossible to code when somebody else is looking at your screen, which is not the most fun. So what I'm going to do, some of you have had a chance to meet each other and some of you have not. So I'm going to pop up your pictures. This will probably require some scrolling on account of the resolution of the projector. So just be on the lookout for your person, and you guys will have time. I think what we'll do is probably send you all around to just stand up and
Yeah, we
move
should.
back.
Everyone should just stand up right now, just to be ready to move. Be mindful of cords around the desks, as a lot of people are plugged in. But
And the idea here is, as you just heard, spend a minute talking about your research and spend a minute listening to the other person talk about their research. So without further ado, okay, Jackie and Cody, Nicholas and Cecilia, Tomas and Domi, Jose and Eve, Simon and George, Nancy and Joaquin, Jin and Cherie,